My cousin, Grace, was a notorious scammer from northern Myanmar. After returning home, she was sentenced to 7 years in prison. To avoid her sentence, she relentlessly sought out different homeless men to sleep with. When she had 3 children in 3 consecutive years, I finally told her, "You still have 4 years left. Instead of continuing to torture your body like this, wouldn't it be better to just go to prison?" Grace flew into a rage. She accused me of being jealous because I couldn't have children and claimed I wanted to force her into jail. That Lunar New Year, as I was frying meatballs, she pinned me down on the scorching hot oil pan. She only let go when I was fried to a crisp. When I opened my eyes, I was reborn to the day my cousin gave birth to her third child and was in postpartum recovery. I smiled. "Grace, how can you still be in the mood for postpartum rest? Hurry up and find a new homeless man to get pregnant for the 4th time." "Hey, Sophia, what do you think? Should I find another man and get pregnant again?" It was my cousin, still in recovery after her 3rd consecutive birth. Those familiar words echoed. I awoke from the agonizing pain throughout my body. In my previous life, she had asked me the exact same thing. My cousin was a scammer from northern Myanmar. She was arrested by the police as soon as she returned to the country. She vehemently denied swindling anyone domestically, only claiming that she worked as a hairdresser in northern Myanmar. The police gave her a set of hairdressing tools and asked her how to use them. She couldn't answer, then changed her story, saying she installed phone screen protectors for a living. The result was that every screen protector she applied was full of bubbles. Finally, with irrefutable evidence, she was sentenced to 7 years. But during her health checkup, she was discovered to be pregnant. The police were forced to grant her a suspended sentence, allowing her to give birth and nurse the child before serving her time. Initially, it was a very humane decision, but my cousin exploited the loophole. Due to strict surveillance, no respectable man could approach her, so she shifted her target to homeless men. Every day, she interacted with countless drifters until she became pregnant. From then on, she began having children year after year, 3 children in 3 years. This was the moment she had just given birth to her third child and was in postpartum recovery. At that time, seeing her so frail, I kindly advised her, "Homeless people are very unclean. What if you contract a disease? You still have 4 years left. You should go to prison instead of continuing to torment your body like this." My cousin immediately went ballistic and screamed at me. She believed I was jealous because I couldn't have children and wanted to force her into jail. As soon as she finished her postpartum confinement, it was Lunar New Year. Families were frying meatballs. My cousin tricked me into coming to her house. In the yard, she set up a huge pot of bubbling oil, claiming it was for frying meatballs, a pot so large that a person could fit inside. While frying, tradition dictated that family members shouldn't speak. My cousin asked me, "Will you let me have more children? Will you take care of me during my postpartum recovery?" I kindly replied, "I will take care of you, but you can't keep destroying your body like this." Before I could finish, my cousin shoved me into the boiling oil. "You barren bitch, you're jealous of me. You want me in prison? Go to hell." She didn't let go until I was fried to a crisp. Afterward, she lied, saying I had fallen into the oil pot. My husband signed a waiver of responsibility, received a huge insurance payout, and even hired a maid to care for her children. My husband exploited my death to livestream, earning a fortune. The 3 of them lived comfortably for the rest of their lives. I only realized all this after I died. My husband had secretly been in love with my cousin for a long time. When I opened my eyes, I was reborn to the day my cousin was in postpartum recovery after giving birth to her third child. Hearing her words, I smiled and said, "Grace, how can you still be in the mood for postpartum rest? Hurry up and find another homeless man to get pregnant for the 4th time." In my previous life, I had sincerely advised her, telling her to take care of her health, but she ended up killing me. This time, I wanted to see what her fate would be. After all, the filthy diseases of those homeless people truly encompassed all 5 poisons. As soon as I finished speaking, my cousin immediately threw the bowl of egg drop soup in her hand directly at me, drenching me. She was furious. "You bitch, didn't you hear what the doctor said? I've given birth to 3 kids in 3 years straight. If I keep going, my uterus will prolapse. You wench, I haven't even finished my confinement and you're already pressuring me to give birth again. Is it because you can't have children and you want me to have a son for you, perhaps?" My cousin cursed incessantly, while her husband, Ethan, was now in prison for fraud. He had no idea how many green hats, an idiom for being cheated on, his wife had put on him while he was away. Otherwise, my cousin's life wouldn't have been so smooth. Hearing her, I just smirked internally. So she did know that continuous childbirth harmed her health, but she stubbornly continued because she was simply evil. I felt a pang of resentment. Turning to my cousin, I said, "What do you mean by that? I genuinely care about you. Aren't I worried you'll suffer if you go to prison?" Hearing this, my cousin, who had been furious, calmed down slightly. Just then our aunt, my cousin's mother, came to clean the floor. While cleaning, she said, "Sophia, it's good that you care about your cousin, but don't just talk. You need to take practical action too. Now there are 3 young children in the house. Every month, milk and diaper money must be spent. You have a job, you should contribute some money." Hearing this, I looked at Auntie and replied, "Auntie, actually, I want to contribute a lot, but life has been very tough recently. I just put all my money into an investment, and I was scammed. I also borrowed an additional 150,000 yuan, and I still haven't dared to tell my family. How about this, Auntie? You lend me 150,000, and once I make a profit, I'll take care of the milk money for my cousin's children." Hearing this, Auntie's face immediately changed. "Forget it. Don't even think about trying to scam me out of my old age savings." Auntie's awareness of fraud prevention was still good because my cousin kept having children and refused to work. All the expenses for food, living, diapers, and milk for the children were paid by Auntie and Uncle. They gradually started to have their own opinions. My cousin's younger brother was also of marriageable age. Not to mention that having a criminal sister made it difficult to find a wife. Just seeing my cousin constantly giving birth at home, what family would dare marry their daughter into such a household? Because Auntie and Uncle still had to constantly funnel money into the bottomless pit that was my cousin. Auntie looked at my cousin and sighed heavily. "If you give birth to this child, then why not?" Before she could finish, my cousin shrieked madly, "You old hag, don't you want to look after my children anymore, is that it?" Then my cousin glared at me. "Let me tell you, no chance. You all plan to use me up and then discard me, huh? Before, you all relied on me to make money so you could eat and dress well. Why didn't anyone speak up then?" Auntie and Uncle looked at each other, not daring to say anything more. After all, my cousin's mood was extremely unstable at that moment. I comforted her. "Auntie and Uncle certainly don't want you to go to jail. Think positively, you still have time to breastfeed, you can use it to recover your health." After saying this, I quietly slipped away. Let whoever wants to get involved with this family get involved. I absolutely refuse to be drawn into this muddy water again. I went out, ate my fill, bought a pile of new clothes, and then finally returned home. As soon as I stepped through the door, my husband, Daniel, who was lying on the sofa in the living room smoking, immediately flew into a rage when he saw me. "Sophia, you're back. Don't you know your cousin is still in postpartum recovery? Didn't you think to go over and help her a little? You're too selfish. I never imagined you could be such a selfish person. It seems I misjudged you all along." My husband began to unleash a barrage of words. In my previous life, I might have thought he truly considered my family his own, and I might even have been touched and reflected on myself. But now, after knowing my husband harbored dirty intentions towards my cousin, every time I saw him, I only felt disgusted, and listening to him made me nauseous. I retorted, "If you think I'm selfish, why don't you take care of her yourself? If you're going to take care of her, don't just talk. I advise you to quit your job and go home to take care of her permanently." Hearing me, my husband was stunned. After all, normally I was always blindly infatuated in love. I never dared to contradict him, not even half a sentence, yet now I dared to talk back. He looked displeased. "Sophia Gu, did you eat gunpowder on the street? You come home and give me attitude." I paid him no mind. After all, a good woman shouldn't argue with a man. I turned and walked into the bathroom. My husband called out again, "Sophia Gu, hurry up and cook for me, I haven't eaten all day." I looked at him and found it amusing. What the hell? He still dared to order me to cook for him. In my previous life, I was truly blind to have loved such a disgusting man. I said, "What did you say? If you want to eat, make it yourself. I'm not your nanny. If you want me to cook, fine, but it's 1,000 yuan per meal, paid up front." I weighed my words carefully. After I finished speaking, my husband grew even angrier, but before he could scold me further, I stepped into the bathroom. While showering, I heard a loud noise outside. Daniel must have been angry and stormed out to eat. I couldn't care less. He could go wherever he wanted. After all, I wouldn't endure it like before. After a joyful shower, I planned to put the new clothes I bought into the washing machine, but I couldn't find them anywhere. Only my husband had been home earlier. I was furious. As soon as I opened my phone, I saw my cousin's story. Even while in confinement, she had to dress beautifully. Shopping makes her happy. I clicked on the photo and saw the items she was showing off: clothes, logos, handbags, identical to the ones I had just bought today. LV, Chanel, Dior. And a new Hermes bag that was only a deposit. Looking closely at the items she flaunted, they were all things that suited me perfectly. My cousin had absolutely no income. Her only source of money was siphoned from her parents. At the same time, I discovered that 131,400 yuan had just been transferred from my bank account. My anger immediately erupted. I immediately called my husband. "Daniel, where did you transfer my money?" My husband snapped back even harder. "Of course, it's for spending lavishly. You think you can control it. You can spend lavishly and waste money, but I can't." With that, my husband hung up. It was only then that I checked my bank statement and discovered that many large transfers had been made at night while I was asleep. My husband had taken advantage of that time to transfer all the money to his own account and then deleted all transfer notifications. The total amount over the years had reached 1.2 million yuan. I was in foreign trade, which was very profitable. I also invested in a private company. Normally, I let my husband order things for himself. Now, seeing my cousin living so lavishly, my husband's hand was definitely behind it. I immediately called the police. "Hello, 911. I want to report a case of theft of property and illegal transfer of funds." The police arrived very quickly and began investigating on the spot. I presented my cousin's story as evidence. "Officers, my cousin is a scammer from Myanmar, a repeat offender. The items I just bought today were stolen by my husband and given to her. Here are the receipts." The police took my statement and then took me to the bank to trace the money. They discovered that over 1.2 million yuan had been systematically transferred by my husband to my cousin's account. I was beyond furious. Very quickly, the police took me to my cousin's house to retrieve the stolen gifts. As soon as they knocked, we heard lively laughter and chatter inside. Auntie's voice said, "Oh, Daniel, you truly have a good heart. These past few years, we've relied on you bringing money home and giving us designer bags. Without you, I don't know how our family would survive." Then came my cousin's coquettish voice. "That's right, Daniel. If only I had met you sooner, there wouldn't have been any trouble with Sophia. If you don't mind, why don't you stay tonight? I just bought some beautiful nightgowns. I'll wear them for you, okay?" The police looked at me with pity. Another officer sighed helplessly, understanding why she had been giving birth year after year. Now, to avoid jail, she wouldn't even spare her own cousin's husband. The police knocked on the door and my uncle opened it. Upon seeing the police and me, he froze. The police looked at Daniel. "Mr. Daniel, you are suspected of theft of property valued at 150,000 yuan and illegal transfer of marital assets totaling 2 million yuan. Please come with us for questioning." Hearing this, my husband looked at me standing beside him and immediately understood everything. He looked displeased and told the police, "This is just a family matter. Everything is also marital property between a husband and wife. I think it's better if we resolve it amongst ourselves." I immediately retorted sternly, "Why should we resolve it privately? Such a large sum of money, did you have my consent?" "Officers, I refuse private mediation. The money and items must be returned to me." My husband angrily yelled at me, "I haven't even settled scores with you. Do you think earning money at home is easy? You order so many things, eat well, and dress expensively outside. I even smell hot pot on you. Look at yourself, how fat you've become, yet you still dare to buy new clothes and eat hot pot like a sow without any shame. Why don't you just give all that stuff to our cousin?" After he finished speaking, my cousin even laughed triumphantly at me. "HMPH, do you think I'd covet your cheap clothes and handbags? When I was glorious, a single paper bag was more expensive than all the items you bought combined." After hearing this, I didn't bother arguing with her. I just said, "Grace, your husband is currently in jail. Are you sure he doesn't know you've been cheating on him?" The words had barely left my lips when my cousin's face darkened considerably. Her husband, Ethan, had doted on her immensely, but was also extremely controlling. If he found out that she had been sleeping with homeless men everywhere to have children just to avoid prison, she would certainly have no peace after he was released. My cousin yelled, "Why are you meddling in other people's business? Get out of my house, I don't need you." Then she signaled to my aunt to bring out all the bags and clothes my husband had given her. She then looked at the two police officers. "Oh, you two are here again? Come in and sit down. I just gave birth and I'm still in postpartum recovery. The baby is waiting for milk." How familiar this scene was. These two officers were the ones who had arrested my cousin a few years prior. At that time, they were certain they would catch the scammer, but they never expected her to continuously give birth. She somehow found a group of homeless men and had children with them, leaving the police helpless. The main officer shook his head. "This time, you can't keep giving birth, all right? Giving birth like this is beyond the limit." But my cousin felt no shame. On the contrary, she was proud. "So what if I have a fourth child? In the future, I might even get an award for my contributions. If I can give birth, I will keep giving birth. Later, I'll rely on these children to support me. Not like my cousin here, who's been married to Daniel for so many years and her belly hasn't shown any movement." My husband coldly snorted. "When we got married, she and I agreed not to have children. I also said I didn't like children. It was only after being reborn that I understood. My husband didn't dislike children, he just didn't want to have children with me asterisk." I didn't reply, only firmly demanded the return of my belongings. But when Uncle and Auntie brought out the items, I was stunned. All the clothes and handbags I had bought for over 100,000 yuan were defaced. My cousin's two children, fathered by those drifters, had even used utility knives to slash the bags and clothes. My aunt looked at me smugly. "Children don't understand things. Sophia won't hold it against them, right? We're all family." Then she turned to the police. "I'm so sorry, we were just exchanging gifts. Sorry to trouble you all to come all this way." Auntie was still trying to mediate, but by then, the police had begun to act. Unauthorized taking of another person's property and illegal transfer of funds without permission is a serious crime. The police didn't say much and immediately took my husband, uncle, and aunt back to the station. They started to get scared and said they would pay the money back. Uncle and auntie had accumulated quite a bit of savings over the years. In front of me, they transferred over 100,000 yuan in compensation. The 1.2 million yuan that my husband had secretly transferred from my account had also been used by my uncle and aunt to buy a house and a car for their son. To avoid any complications, I asked the police to take me to transfer the titles of the house and car into my name. Leaving the police station, I immediately contacted a real estate agent I knew and sold the house and car the same day at a low price. Only after the money was transferred to my account did I feel at ease. I also immediately changed all my bank account passwords and conveniently blocked all phone numbers of my uncle and aunt's family. Only then did I feel safe enough to return home. As soon as I walked through the door, my husband's voice rang out. "Sophia Gu, what are you crazy about now? You dared to lock all my bank cards." I burst out laughing from anger. "Your money? Clearly, it's my money." After saying that, I looked at my husband, who was casually lying on the sofa watching suggestive and ambiguous content. Before, I would have blamed myself. I thought that my husband liking to watch such things, liking massages, liking to flirt with others, was because I was too fat. So I became anxious about my appearance, frantically lost weight, put on makeup, and dressed in all sorts of ways, just afraid my husband wouldn't like me anymore and would leave me. But now I understood clearly. He was just a common, vulgar man. My husband sneered, "Your money is my money. If I hadn't used your money all these years, hadn't constantly encouraged you, do you think you could have earned any money?" I looked at him. "Damn it, you're truly an eye-opener. You have a belly like a pig yourself and still dare to criticize others. Why don't you look down at your own stomach? It looks like you're 9 months pregnant with triplets. My monthly foreign trade salary is 10 times yours. I support this entire household. It's my right to spend money however I want. Don't call our cousin sweetie every day. If you like her that much, then go be the father of my cousin's children." My husband froze. I had always been submissive and dependent on him, unable to do anything without him. He choked on his words. A moment later, an ashtray suddenly flew straight towards me. I couldn't react in time, only feeling my head dizzy and blood flowing down my face. My husband hit me. Before, even though he was a parasite, he still pretended to dote on me. At most, he would scold and curse, but he had never laid a hand on me. but this time my heart was completely cold. The strength difference between men and women was already significant. I couldn't fight him physically. I rushed into the kitchen, grabbed a knife, and charged out, slashing wildly. After all, I had already died once. At worst, I'd die again. Seeing me brandish the knife, a fierce expression on my face, chasing him to hack him, my husband also ran away in fear. He was truly the type to only bully the weak. Seeing me with blood on my head, the police were also very anxious. They took me to the hospital for examination. The forensic report showed I had a concussion and minor injuries. I immediately contacted a lawyer, filed for divorce, and demanded he leave with nothing. The police comforted me and called my husband. "Mr. Daniel, we are officers from a district police station, Tunyang City. Please come to Tunyang People's Hospital number 1 to cooperate with the investigation." My husband's voice sounded a bit flustered. "Police? Hospital?" Then he seemed to realize. Damn it, this wretched woman dared to call the police? As soon as the words left his mouth, the police reminded him, "Mr. Daniel, mind your language." My husband cursed and then said, all right, I'm at the hospital, I'll be right over, wait a few minutes for me." The police seemed a bit suspicious. Why was my husband also at the hospital? Was it because we both fought? I was also worried, afraid he would deliberately injure himself so that when verified, I would lose the portion of assets I was supposed to receive in the divorce. But when my husband appeared, I no longer had any doubts. He was carrying a small boy, his face full of worry. The child nestled into his arms, looking exactly like his biological son. That was my cousin's child. My cousin, who was still in confinement, now had her arm linked with my husband's. The three of them looked like a real family. I felt my heart plummet to the bottom. My husband looked at me with dissatisfaction. "Damn it, Sophia, didn't I just accidentally hit you once? It wasn't even that serious. Why call the police?" I gave a cold laugh. "Oh, so if others are injured, it's a big deal?" My cousin rolled her eyes, her voice sweet. "Oh, Sophia, my child only has a small injury and I'm also on my way to the hospital for rehabilitation. Daniel was just giving me a ride. Sophia, you won't be angry, will you?" "No, right. You wouldn't be that narrow-minded, would you?" My cousin looked at me and even made 2 clicking sounds with her tongue. My husband glared. "Leo only hurt his hand. Do you have to be so petty with a child?" The police and doctor looked at the child's hand. The doctor clearly shook his head. "Oh my, this cut is too severe. Luckily, he was brought in quickly. Otherwise, the wound would have healed by now and been difficult to treat." My husband's expression also changed. The doctor continued to examine me. Every time he showed discomfort, I would whimper and complain of pain. With the doctor and police as witnesses, I feared nothing. Before long, all the examinations were completed. The account used was my husband's. He didn't have much money to begin with. After this incident, the money in his account plummeted. His expression was extremely grim. When the police took statements, they were also very surprised. They thought that after hitting me, my husband took my cousin's child to see a doctor. They never expected that person to be my cousin, Grace. Moreover, Grace was a special target for police surveillance, the scammer from northern Myanmar who specialized in using pregnancy and breastfeeding to continuously evade prison. The police officers gazed towards my husband, immediately turned suspicious. "Is this child yours? If it is your child, then you are now suspected of knowing the law yet violating it, helping a criminal evade justice. This is a criminal offense. When people's interests are touched, they immediately become cautious." My husband quickly said, "Of course, it's not my child. I am a child-free person. I just felt sorry for my cousin and helped her a little. She's in postpartum recovery, and her child was injured with no one to care for him, so I came to help." In front of outsiders, my husband appeared incredibly gentle and caring. Yet, to me, his wife of many years, he was cruelly violent. All my years of dedication now seemed like a joke. My husband quickly told the police, "I just find my wife too selfish. You know, my cousin is having a very hard time. I just said a few words, asking her to give my cousin the new clothes she bought, and she got angry. After all, she's her biological cousin. I'm just being good to her maternal family." My husband was excellent at acting, shedding tears and snot, truly knowing how to move himself. I coldly stated, "But she's a scammer." My husband's voice trembled as he defended her, but it's not like she voluntarily became a scammer. If someone regularly sent her money, if she had enough money to spend, she wouldn't need to scam people. Who is born a scammer, right? Hearing this, not only I, but even the surrounding patients watching, were so angry they burst into laughter. An older woman furiously rushed forward, grabbing my husband's collar and scolding him, "You're a mother-born, fatherless brute. I was just swindled out of 800,000 yuan. You beat your wife for a scammer, do you have no shame?" Then the crowd began to criticize my husband. It took the police a while to intervene. By this time, my husband's face was bruised purple. I looked at him coldly. "Who told you to cover for a scammer? From now on, I will cut off all ties with that cousin. If you continue to be involved with her, if you still want to be the father of her children, then we divorce." Hearing the word divorce, my husband immediately burst into tears right there in the hospital. He knelt and begged me, promising to change. My husband was very good at acting. While crying, he pulled the child and knelt before me. The crowd grew larger and larger. My husband cried and said, "Wife, I just felt sorry for my cousin, alone in confinement, so I took her child to see a doctor. After all, she's your cousin." He began to lament. Many people started to feel touched. "He actually seems pitiful. This man seems innocent. This wife might be a bit too much. Why is she taking her anger out on the child? Children aren't at fault." This was ridiculously funny. It was just a pathetic display of feigned vulnerability. Who couldn't act? Just then, I sat on the ground and began to wail and roll around. "Husband, I beg you, don't care about my cousin anymore. She's a scammer, she swindled people out of millions, was sentenced to several years in prison, but she keeps using childbirth to avoid jail. Normally, I don't even dare to tell anyone these shameful things. I already told you, this child isn't our nephew, but my cousin's sleeping around with homeless men and giving birth to them. My cousin's husband is still in jail and knows nothing. By now, the horns on his head must be fully grown. I beg you, don't give my clothes to her anymore. I haven't bought new clothes in over a year. You probably don't know my cousin was sentenced to 7 years in prison. She's already given birth to her third child. To avoid jail, she'll do anything. I also feel ashamed. Who would want to go out and say they have such a relative? If there was no other way, I wouldn't have done this." After hearing this, my cousin's face immediately changed, becoming incredibly grim. She lunged forward, intending to kick me. "Sophia Gu, what nonsense are you spouting? If you say one more word, I'll tear your mouth apart." Before she could lay a hand on me, the police officers quickly restrained her. The police warned her that this was a society governed by law and she should behave herself. Intentionally causing injury would lead to jail time. My cousin coldly snorted, "Jail time? Heh, I don't have to go to jail. I'm still in the breastfeeding period. If you're so capable, arrest me. At most, I'll just be sentenced. I can still give birth to one child every year to avoid jail. Heh." She didn't even bother to pretend anymore. My cousin's arrogant attitude made the police furious, their faces red. The surrounding crowd almost wanted to rush in and hit her. Everyone simultaneously pulled out their phones to record my cousin. These scammers are truly unbelievable now. Not only do they rely on pregnancy to avoid jail, but they even seduce their own cousin's husband. I think these children are probably theirs. Shameless. Give the money back immediately. Hearing the public scolding, my cousin coldly snorted again. She said, "If she can't keep her husband, she should look at herself. Afraid I'll go to jail? Why should I return the money?" My cousin's defiance immediately infuriated the public. People rushed forward to hit her. My cousin was beaten until her head was covered in blood. Finally, the police reluctantly separated the crowd. My cousin touched her head, saw the blood, and then laughed maniacally. Ha, this is hilarious. Getting beaten up like this isn't a loss. I forgot to tell you all, I have an infectious disease. Just wait to get infected by me. Hearing my cousin say these provoking words in the hospital, the police immediately took her back to the station. After doctors and nurses examined her, they confirmed that my cousin indeed had an infectious disease. However, because she was still in the breastfeeding period, she could not be incarcerated, so she could only continue to be granted a suspended sentence. Because she had been in close contact with homeless people for many years, all the children she gave birth to carried pathogens. My aunt and uncle completely disowned her. Moreover, since the car and house had just been transferred to my name, my aunt and uncle absolutely refused to let my cousin return home. I took the opportunity to file for divorce from my husband due to domestic violence. The divorce proceedings were handled very quickly. My husband was the party at fault, so he left empty-handed. I regained ownership of my former home. My ex-husband was left with only a small apartment, one bedroom and one living room, registered under his parents' names in the city. He then took my cousin and her children and moved in there. The children already had poor genes, and the newborn was extremely aggressive, frequently biting my cousin and even hitting my ex-husband. My ex-husband worked tirelessly from morning till night. Living with my cousin, combined with his weakened health, meant that now, let alone finding a job, no one would even hire him for delivery or as a shipper. His only option was to pick up trash to make a living, but my cousin continued to spend lavishly. Later, Daniel, my ex-husband, couldn't endure it anymore. He contacted human traffickers and sold all of my cousin's children. Initially, my cousin strongly resisted, but Daniel was a violent man. 3 days of light beatings, 5 days of severe beatings, and my cousin finally succumbed. The money saved for her postnatal recovery was also gone, and she had to do more housework. Before long, she suffered from postpartum complications, frequently leaked urine, and had to use adult diapers. Later, Daniel didn't even buy diapers for her anymore. If she urinated outside a little, he would press her head into the soiled diaper and beat her. My cousin could only sob, not daring to resist. Not long after, my cousin became pregnant with Daniel again. But this time, she wasn't as lucky as before. Without my care and money, my cousin suffered from severe malnutrition. In addition, Daniel beat her during one of his drunken rages, leading to a miscarriage. Afterward, her entire uterus had to be removed. When the police came to take my cousin to jail, my cousin also simultaneously accused Daniel of being a human trafficker who sold children. Daniel was sentenced to 15 years in prison. The first 2 years in prison were not peaceful for him. Because my cousin's former husband found out about everything, he frequently used areas without cameras to beat Daniel and force him to drink toilet water. By the time both my cousin and her former husband were released from prison, her husband discovered he had been cheated on, his children had infectious diseases, and his home was filled with homeless men. He became furious. My cousin pleaded with auntie and uncle for help, but only received ridicule and indifference. Unable to bear the humiliation, my cousin put sleeping pills in the food of her husband, aunt, and uncle, and her younger brother, then stabbed all 3 of them to death. Finally, my cousin was sentenced to death. The remaining children were sent to a welfare institution. The moment my cousin's sentence was announced, I looked at the sunlight outside the window and finally felt peace from the bottom of my heart.